Hello, welcome to my first YouTube show. This is my meditation room. As you can see behind me are crystals, music. Now, just in case you think I'm a woo-woo New Age person, I want to remind you that watches run off of crystals. Why is that? Because they vibrate so accurately. So, according to many New Age people, different crystals vibrate in different sort of patterns similar to watch crystals, and supposedly those can also vibrate to emotional, mental, physical needs or healing. So today I'm wearing amber, and actually amber is pine resin, and this is a nod to Doris. She is a fashion queen who has like 10 warehouses, and when she wears necklaces, she wears like twice as many as this. And being raised by an artist, I was told and taught to be myself and dress how I wanted to and how my mother wanted me to, which was always pretty wild, and I love that. And the crystal amber. By the way, we're going to talk about borderline personalities today, but I just wanted to start out with Secrets of a Fashion Therapist. This is a great book. Has nothing to do with borderlines, but I love this because it reminded me of myself. Secrets of a Fashion Therapist. I love going to work because it gives me a chance to dress up, and I love shopping at thrift stores and secondhand stores and cheap stores, and also Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman's. But primarily I like to shop secondhand because I can find things that I feel like have a history and that a relationship with somebody who wore them. This is a thrift store shirt, but I love this color, and I love ribbed tees, and this is ribbed. And I'm wearing a pair of Hilfiger jeans that I bought at a real store, and you may have seen these shoes before. I like them because at my age, these thick heels are much easier to wear, and I always wear high heels. I always wear high heels, as my grandmother would say. So we're looking for, what did I say this was called? Amber. We're looking for amber, and I'm not even seeing it here. Amber. Great. Well, anyway, what I was told amber is 107. Amber brings in gold light. So whatever supposedly it surrounds, it pulls in gold light because of the color of it, and because it is a mineral. With the view of oneself from a superficial perspective, and can produce perspicacity with respect to the methods available for painlessly correcting the attributes which are unwanted. So it brings in gold light and superficially draws your eyes to what is attractive and what you're attracted to, and sort of takes your eyesight away from the imperfections. So amber is a fossilized resin and is usually golden and yellow-brown in color. Some amber has been found to contain blue, red, or green hues. I don't have any blue. I have some red here, but I don't have any blue or green amber. Amber allows the body to heal itself by absorbing and transmuting negative energy into positive energy. And that's great for somebody with ADHD who can get pretty negative very easily. It emits a sunny and bright, soothing energy which helps to calm nerves and enliven the disposition. Sunny. It looks sunny, doesn't it? The different colors of amber may be used on the appropriate chakras to facilitate opening and cleansing. Now, the second chakra is orange, and that is the creative chakra and the chakra of sexuality and the genitals. So hopefully balancing them, helping them to not be compulsive or addictive or shut down which of course are two things that can happen when you come from a family when there's emotional, verbal, sexual, or physical abuse. So this helps balance out that chakra. It is a stone dedicated to the connection of the conscious self to universal perfection. So see there, it's not just my superficiality. It helps one in the art of manifestation to bring that which is desired to the state of reality. It stimulates the intellect and opens the crown chakra. I didn't know that. So the crown chakra, if you don't know anything about chakras, this is an Indian theory that there's bundles of nerves at 7 places in your body. The crown chakra, this is related to connecting with a higher power. So the crown chakra is actually white, like the white light of Christ or of the universe or whoever you believe in if you're Indian, Asian Indian, or Native American Indian. So it opens up this crown chakra and it transmutes the energy of physical vitality towards the action of unconditional love. And I'm learning something today. That's wonderful. Amber provides an energy to kindle the realization and subsequent response of choice, helping one to choose and be chosen. It has been used as a symbol for renewal of marriage vows and to assure promises. It has been said to bring good luck to warriors. Well, I guess in a way a therapist is a warrior for the truth. It is a sacred stone to both Native American and Eastern Indians. It has also been used in the fire ceremonies of ancient tribal healers. It was burned beginning in the medieval days as a fumigant and as an incense to clear the environment of negativity. It is said to have been one of the stones used in the breastplate for the high priest. It aligns the ethereal energies to the physical, mental, and emotional bodies, providing for an even flow of perfect order to the requirements of the earth plane while balancing the electromagnetics of the physical body. Now again, if you're ADHD, part of what's happening is the electricity in the brain is a little bit different and off because the blood flow to the neocortex, look up Dr. Daniel Amen and ADHD, the neocortex has, if you look at under a SPECT brain scan, decreased blood flow. But when you give ADHD medications, which usually are methamphetamines. So if you give methamphetamines, this part of the brain lights up. The brain becomes more active, and you can see that on the scan. It cleanses the environment which it rests and is an excellent mineral for use in birthing and rebirthing rooms. It also acts to purify one's body, mind, and spirit when worn, carried, or used as an elixir. Elixir, that's a liquid. It has been used in the treatment of goiter and other diseases of the throat. It has also been successful in the treatment of disorders of the kidneys and bladder. Now, I woke up this morning with the same old rehashing of this COVID that I had where I have to keep clearing my throat. It's gotten better every week, but since I put on all the amber, it's a little bit better. Yes, I know, that could just be psychological. It has been used in the treatment of goiter and other diseases of the throat. It has also been successful in the treatment of disorders of the kidney and the bladder, and I have kidney disease, so that's great. I didn't know it helps with that. In ancient times, it was used as a penicillin-type remedy, ground and ingested or soaked as in an elixir and subsequently drank. So if you have, and I have some pieces of loose amber, and I'm going to try that. You just soak them in water. I would soak them in water overnight, and then you drink that. And of course, the word elixir sounds so tantalizing and mystical. So this also vibrates to number 3. Now, in numerology, I don't know if that's real or not, or scientific or not, that's my destiny number, number 3. So I had no idea. So there, I can wear all the amber I want. Now, today we're going to talk about borderline personality disorder. We're going to science right now. And the very best book, if you are thinking about, I know I have some of you that watch the show that are thinking about becoming or are in school to become a therapist. If you are becoming a therapist, or if you have a family member in your life who is a borderline or has borderline traits or is a borderline personality disorder, it is very, very important if you're going to treat borderlines that you read this book. Understanding the Borderline Mother. The author, Christine Lawson, would not come on my radio show in Atlanta, so I'm sure she won't come on this little teeny show. Helping her children transcend the intense, unpredictable, and volatile relationship. So, Understanding the Borderline Mother by Christine Ann Lawson. This book taught me more than, I would say, 80% of my training in graduate school, which was a joke, and the really good training that I had during and after graduate school, and number one, my own therapy, and in number two, the places where I worked that were excellent. So this book taught me more than both of those, and I guess because it's so thorough. Now, borderline personality disorder is really hallmarked by an absolute fear of abandonment, an absolute fear of abandonment. And that is expressed sometimes in rage, which makes the person abandon them, like we all do. We play out our family scripts. Although I want to say there is some research that says borderline personality disorder, just like any other mental illness, has a brain portion to it, that some of it is that their brain is born that way. And I tend to believe that that's true because there's so many similarities in all the borderlines I've seen or worked with, and in the different places I've worked, Ohio, Atlanta, and here in Florida. I believe, and this is my intuitive experience, I believe that there is a brain component. Whether that brain component was created by lots of abuse and neglect or just being born that way. So I think that's important to consider because it takes some of the stigma of being a borderline personality. They can be very difficult to work with if you don't learn how to work with them early on, and so it can be terrifying for a therapist to not know how to handle a borderline, and can be even dangerous and difficult if they don't know how to handle them. So borderline, because of their absolute fear of abandonment and how we tend to recreate that, our pattern in our families as a kid, they sometimes have self-harm, whether that be cutting, and I saw a borderline once in a psychiatric hospital who actually scratched her face, just like little cat scratches, X's, 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 X's all over her face, just lightly like a cat scratch, but I'm sure when she did it they bled, which to me, first of all, was shocking, and but to me it was the real way to show the universe and the people around her how she felt about herself, and to be, this is also what they say borderlines do, come here, go away. There's a great book called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me, and that is so true of male and female borderlines. So you really, if you're going to learn to work with borderlines, you need to learn one thing: how to lovingly set boundaries immediately in a situation. Now, I learned early on from somebody who wasn't even a therapist, but she was just great with people. If you have someone who's a narcissist, they may look like a borderline, but if you set a boundary with a narcissist, they will blow up. Now, if you compliment a narcissist, they will usually comply with the treatment, no matter what it is, because they're so empty. Also, like a borderline is very empty. But if you compliment a borderline, they will usually know if you are BSing them. A narcissist will not know because they need it so badly. When I worked with teenagers from really wealthy families at Ridgeview Institute in Atlanta, sometimes, we might have a CEO whose teenager was in treatment with us. Back then we kept kids for 1 to 3 years on a locked unit. And I remember a CEO of a large company, global company, and the difference in the way that that person responded to positive feedback. I would never set boundaries with that person. I would just set confirmations. Now, this person was not the greatest parent, but one of the things I was told to say to this person is, you are such a good parent. It's obvious how much you want your son to know that you love him, blah, 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 blah. And he stopped sort of acting out with his child and with us. And it was really important to him to get that kind of feedback, even though he was extremely well known and already very big in his field, which a narcissist can be. They can be homeless, but they can also be at the top of their field. A borderline can also be that way. They say that no wire hangers. Joan Crawford was a borderline, and that she was cruel. There's this book, Understanding Borderline Mothers, has something that's not in the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, which is what diagnoses mental disorders. She puts borderlines into 4 or 5 categories. And this was very helpful to me when I was learning. Again, it's not in our DSM, but it's very helpful in learning how to treat a borderline in therapy, and if you're in a group with them. So usually we recommend DBT therapy, and cognitive therapy also helps. DBT stands for dialectical behavioral therapy, and that's a whole nother show. But basically they focus on their thinking, and the thinking is what gets them to act out. So usually everyday life feels impossible to deal with and to maintain healthy relationships. So everyday life feels really difficult for them, and usually they have had a very difficult life up to in their 40s and 50s. They maintain unhealthy self-awareness. They can have several co-occurring disorders. Many borderline personalities have eating disorders, substance abuse, substance addiction. Anger is a big deal when I talked about the rage. Anger is a very important way for them to say, I hate you, don't leave me. They usually have some PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because most of them were raised in extremely abusive situations. So DBT is best because it's not psychotherapy. It teaches them about their brain and how they think and how to correct that thinking. Usually they have to be in a DBT group and have a DBT therapist. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and ACT, active commitment therapy. There's a place in LA called the Clearview Center. It's the Women's Center, and they treat borderline personality disorders. I don't have any personal experience with them, but they were just the first group I came upon that looked like they probably are expensive, but they do take insurance. Their phone number is 866-349-4435. That's 866-349-4435. The 2 most helpful trainings is this book and a book written for psychotherapists. Actually, it was written by psychiatrists, and if you don't know, a psychiatrist is a medical doctor who works with people with mental illness. Then you have psychologists who are not medical doctors, but they have a PhD, so they're called doctor also, and a PhD in psychology, or usually clinical psychology. Here in Florida, there's a lot of them that have a PhD in mental health counseling, which is a little different than a clinical psychologist. And then there's master's level therapists like myself, licensed clinical social worker, and we can all diagnose and treat this disorder. Transference and countertransference, I think it was called With Personality Disorders, was another book like this other book that I have mentioned that really taught me a lot, because each psychiatrist in each chapter admits that they had countertransference, because it's so easy to do with a borderline personality disorder. They are very astute to people and to authenticity and falseness. So each psychiatrist had a chapter where he remarked on his countertransference, whether he was getting angry with the patient and he had to figure out why, what in the patient triggered him, and usually it's our own family or personal issues, whether it's past issues or current. And that got triggered, and how he responded inappropriately to his, usually it was male therapist, male psychiatrist, to his trigger, and how that made the borderline or the narcissist worse. So I can't tell you that book right now because it was written for psychiatrists and I didn't have a chance to look it up. So it's, if I remember, it's called Transference and Countertransference. Christine says there's 4 types. She calls them the waif, the hermit, the queen, and the witch. And then there's the Medea. The Median witch is the one that will kill her children, like Susan Smith and what was the other one's name? So the movie about Joan Crawford shows you a witch. My favorite movie is called, actually even not related to mental illness or mental health, is called The 10th Kingdom. This is written by 2 women for Showtime. It is a 6-hour movie. My husband watched it every night just for 2 hours, and we couldn't wait to get to the next in the series. And again, there was 3 nights that we watched it. You can order it from Showtime, and again, it's called The 10th Kingdom. It's amazing. It is written in a format that is perfect for a borderline, because her children and her husband, 1 child and 1 husband, play the protagonists in the movie, and it's all in a fairyland. Borderlines, according to Christine, live in borderland. It's a land that they have created to survive. So these 2 people are going through like this fairy tale land, and there's a wolf that joins them, who is this very good looking actor, and he's in love with the girl, but she can only see him as a wolf. So throughout the movie you see him picking up self-help books, Women Who Love Too Much, Venus and Mars. He's always trying to study and get better so she'll fall in love with him. And he is, of course, not a wolf. He is normal and absolutely loving. So it's funny, it's cute, it is intense. The ending is absolutely wonderful. If you've ever had issues with your mother, now my mother never tried to kill me or anything like that, but in some ways as a kid, I was stifled so much, I felt like my soul was, being killed. Not really, but it felt bad. So if you've ever had that kind of a relationship with a parent, you should watch it, because it's wonderful. And I won't tell you anything else about the ending or what happens, but it really is like really good therapy, growing up, challenging yourself, being willing to go on challenges to your own mental health that will make you healthier, give up the way you see the world, and of course the way you see men. If you had like they said on Saturday Night Live, this is my mom, she taught me how to hate men. And you've heard me say that before if you watch my show. So to grow up, you have to give up the way that we were raised. And the borderlines, each one, she gives a theme, sort of a theme that the borderline gives to the children, and some symptoms. Now, borderlines are volatile, impulsive, that's why some of them kill themselves, is very impulsive, self-destructive, fearful of abandonment. Borderline, the word borderline comes from the border of sanity and insanity. I could be a borderline and you wouldn't know it. But if I were having an episode of rage on my husband, rage on my stepchildren, or suicidal, homicidal, or cutting myself in little scratches so you'd see it, you would think I was crazy. So a borderline can be completely sane looking, but then when they have an episode, they definitely look insane. So they're on the borderline. between insanity and sanity. And as I get healthier and better, obviously the acting out, suicide, self-harming, substance abuse, eating disorder will get better and better. Now, it takes a long time, and not every therapist can work with that kind of difficulty. I can't anymore. It's too much. They have loss triggers, suicide, and psychotic reactions. A psychotic reaction would definitely make you think that somebody is